The complete works of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 5, Section 2, Interviews. Question. Next question. Why should the unconditioned Brahman choose to assume a condition for a purpose of manifestation of the world's creation? Answer. The question itself is most illogical. Brahman is avanta avangamana so go charam. Avangamana sogocharam, meaning that which is incapable of being grasped by word and mind. Whatever lies beyond the region of space, time, and causation, whatever lies beyond the region of space, time, and causation cannot be conceived by the human mind, and the function of logic and inquiry lies only within the region of space, time, and causation. While that is so, it is a vain attempt to question about what lies beyond the possibility of human conception. Next question. Here and there, attempts are made to import into the Puranas hidden ideas which are said to have been allegorically represented. Sometimes it is said that the Puranas need not contain any historical truth, but are mere representation of the highest ideals illustrated with fictitious characters or fictitious characteristics. Take for instance Vishnu Puran, Ramayana or Bharata, that is Mahabharata. Do they contain the historical veracity, or are they mere allegorical representations of metaphysical truths? Or are they representations of the highest ideas for the conduct of humanity? Or are they mere epic poems such as those of Homer's? Answer. Some historical truth is a nucleus of every Puran. The object of the Puranas is to teach mankind the sublime truth in various forms. And even if they do not contain any historical truth, they form a great authority for us in the respect of the highest truth which they inculcate. Take the Ramayana for illustration. And for viewing, it has an authority on building character. It is not even necessary that one like Ram should have ever lived. The sublimity of the law propounded by Ramayana or Mahabharata does not depend upon the truth of any personality like Ram or Krishna, and one can even hold that such personage never lived, and at the same time take those writings as high authorities in respect to of the grand ideas which they place before mankind. Our philosophy does not depend upon any personality for its truth. Thus, Krishna did not teach anything new or original to the world, nor does Ramayana profuse anything which is not contained in the scriptures. It is to be noted that Christianity cannot stand without Christ, Mohammedanism without Muhammad, Buddhism without Buddha, but Hinduism stands independently of any man. And for the purpose of estimating the philosophical truth contained in any Puran, we need not consider the question whether the personages treated of therein were really material men or were fictional characters. The object of the Puranas was to educate, or was the education of mankind, and the sages who constructed them contributed and contrived to find some historical personages and to supreme impose upon them all the best or the worst quality just as they wanted to. and laid down the rules of moral for the conduct of mankind. It is necessary that a demon with 10 heads, that is Dashamukha, should have actually lived as stated in the Ramayana. It is the representation of some truth which deserves to be studied. Apart from the questions whether Dashamukh was a real or a fictional character, you may now depict Krishna in a still more attractive manner. And the description depends upon the sublimity of your idea. But there stands the grand philosophy contained in the Puranas. Next question. Is it possible for a man, if he were an adept, to remember the events connected with his past incarnation? The physiological brain which he owned in his previous incarnation and in which the impression of his experience were stored is no longer present. In this birth, he is endowed with a new physiological brain, and while that is so, how is it possible for the present brain to get at the personal at the impression received by another apparatus which is not in existence at present? Answer. Swami. What do you mean by an adept? Correspondent. One that has developed the hidden powers of his nature. Swami. I cannot understand how the hidden powers can be developed. I know what you mean, but I should always desire that the expression used are precise and accurate. You may say that the powers hidden are uncovered. It is possible for those that have uncovered the hidden powers of their nature to remember the incident connected with their past incarnation, for their present brain has its bija or seed in the Sukshma man after death. Next question. Does the spirit of Hinduism permit the proselytism of strangers into it? And can a Brahmin listen to the exposition of philosophy made by Chandala? Answer. Proselytism is tolerated by Hinduism. Any man, whether he be a Shudra or Chandal, can expound philosophy even to the Brahmin. The truth can be learnt from the lowest individual, no matter to what caste or creed he belongs. Here the Swami quoted Sanskrit verses of high authority to in support to his position. The discourse ended as the time appointed in the program for his visiting the temple had already arrived. He accordingly took leave of the gentlemen present and proceeded to visit the temple. Next, the abroad and the problem at home. The abroad and the problem at home. The Hindu Madras, February 1897. Our representative met the Swami Vivekananda in the train at the Chingliput station and travelled with him to Madras. The following is the report of the interview. What made you go to America, Swamiji? Rather a serious question to answer in brief. I can only answer it partly now because I travel all over India. I wanted to go over to other countries. I went to America by the Far East. What did you see in Japan, and is there any chance of India following in the progressive step of Japan? None whatever. Until all the 300 millions of Indians combined together as a whole nation, the world has never seen such a patriotic and artistic race as the Japanese. And one special feature about them is that while in Europe and elsewhere art generally goes with dirt, Japanese art is art plus absolute cleanliness. I would wish that every one of our young men could visit Japan once at least in his lifetime. It is very easy to go there. The Japanese think that everything Hindu is great. The Japanese think that everything Hindu is great and believe that India is a holy land. Japanese Buddhism is entirely different from what we see in Shillong. It is the same. It is the same as Vedant. It is positive and theistic Buddhism. It is positive and theistic Buddhism, not the negative atheistic Buddhism of Shillong. What is the key of Japan's sudden greatness? The faith of the Japanese is themselves and their love for their country. When you have men who are ready to sacrifice their everything for their country, sincere to the backbone, sincere to the backbone, when such men arise, India will become great in every respect. It is the men that make the country. What is there in the country? If you catch the social morality and political morality of the Japanese, you will be as great as they are. The Japanese are ready to sacrifice everything for their country and they have become a great people. But you are not, you cannot be. You sacrifice everything only for your own families and possessions. Next, is it your wish that India should become like Japan? Decidedly not. India should continue to be what she is. How could India ever become like Japan or any nation for the matter of that? In each nation, as in music, there is a main note, a central theme upon which all other turns. Each nation has a theme. Everything else is a secondary. India's theme is religion, social reform, and everything else is secondary. Therefore, India cannot be like Japan. It is said that when the heart breaks, the flow of thoughts come. Then the flow of thoughts come. India's heart must break and the flow of spirituality will come out. India is India. We are not like the Japanese. We are Hindus. India's very atmosphere is soothing. I have been working incessantly here and amid this work I am getting rest. It is only from spiritual work that we can get rest in India. If your work is material, here you die of diabetes. Next, so much for Japan. What was your first experience of America, Swamiji? From first to the last, it was very good. With the exception of the missionaries and the churchwomen, the Americans are most hospitable, kind-hearted, generous, and good-natured. Next, who are these churchwomen that you speak of, Swamiji? When a woman tries her best to find her husband, when a woman tries her best to find her husband, she goes to all fashionable seasides resort and tries all sort of tricks to catch a man. When she fails in her attempts, she becomes what they call in America an old maid and joins the church. Some of them become very curchy. These church women are awful fanatics. They are under the thumb of the priest there. Between them and the priest, they make hell of earth and make the mess of religion. With the exception of these, the Americans are the very good people. They loved me and I loved them a great deal. I felt as if I was one of them. Next, what is your idea about the result of the Parliament of Religion? The Parliament of Religion, as it seems to me, was indeed for the Heltian show before the world. But it turned out that the Heltians had an upper hand and made it a Christian show all around. So the Parliament of Religion was a failure from the Christian standpoint, seeing that the Roman Catholics who were the organizers of that parliament are there when there is a talk of another parliament at Paris, now steadily opposing it. But the Chicago Parliament was tremendous success for India and Indian thoughts. It helped on the tide of Vedanta, which is the flooding the world. The American people, of course, minus the fanatical priests and churchwomen, are very glad of the results of Parliament. Next, what prospect have you, Swamiji, for the spread of your mission in England. There is every prospect. Before many years elapse, a vast majority of the English people will be Vedantin. There is a great prospect of this in England than there in America. You see, Americans make a far- fanfaronade, faronade, fanfaronade of everything, which is not the case with Englishmen. Even Christians cannot understand their New Testament without understanding the Vedant. The Vedant is the rationale of all religions. Without the Vedant, every religion is superstition, and with everything becomes religion. Next, what is a special trait you noticed in the English character? The Englishman goes to practical work as soon as he believes in something. He has tremendous energy for the practical work. There is in the whole world no human being superior to the English gentleman or lady. That is really the reason of my faith in them. John Bull is rather a thick-headed gentleman to deal with. You must push an idea till it reaches his brain, but once there, it does not get out. In England, there was not one missionary or anybody who said anything against me, not one who tried to make a scandal about me. To my astonishment, many of my friends belong to the Church of England. I learned these missionaries do not come from the higher classes in England. Caste is as rigorous there as it is here, and the English churchmen belong to the class of gentlemen. They may differ in opinion from you, but that is no bar to their being friends with you. Therefore, I would give a word of advice to my countrymen, which is not to take notice of the vituperation missionaries, now that I have known that they are. We have sized them, and as the Americans say, non recognition is the only attitude to assume towards them. Next, will you kindly enlighten me, Swamiji, on the social reform movement in America and England? Yes, all the social upheavalists, at least the leaders of them, are trying to find that all their communistic or equalizing theories must have spiritual basis, and that spiritual basis is in the Vedanta only. I have been told by the several readers who used to attend my lecture that they require the Vedanta as the base of new orders of things. Next, what are your views with regard to the Indian masses? Oh, we are awfully poor and our masses are very ignorant about secular things. Our masses are very good because poverty here is not a crime. Our masses are not violent. Many times I was near been mobbed in America and England only on account of my dress. But I never heard of such a thing in India as a man being mobbed because of a peculiar dress. In every other respect, our masses are much more civilized than the European masses. What will you propose for the improvement of our masses? We have to give them secular education. We have to follow the plan laid down by our ancestors that it is to bring all the ideals slowly down among the masses, raise them slowly up, and rise them to equality. Impart even secular knowledge through religion. But next, but do you think, Swamiji, it is a task that can be easily accomplished? It will, of course. I have gradually to be worked out. It will, of course. I have gradually to be worked out. But if there are enough self-sacrificing young fellow who I hope will work with me, it can be done tomorrow. It all depends upon the zeal and the self-sacrifice brought to the task. Next, but if the present degraded condition is due to their past karma, Swamiji, how do you think they could get out of it easily, and how do you propose to help them? The Swamiji readily answered. Karma is the eternal assertion of the human freedom. If we can bring ourselves down by our karma, surely it is in our power to rise or raise ourselves by it. The masses beside have not brought themselves down, although by their own karmas. So we should give them better environment to work in. I do not propose I do not propose any leveling of caste. Caste is a very good thing. Caste is the plan we want to follow. What caste really is, not one in the million understands. There is no country in the world without caste. In India, from caste, we reach to the point where there is no caste. Caste is based throughout on that principle. The plan in India is to make everybody a Brahmin. The Brahmin being the ideal of the humanity. If you read the history of India, you will find the attempts have always been made to raise the lower castes. Make many are the classes that have been raised. Many more will follow till the whole will become Brahmin. That is the plan. We have only to raise them without bringing down anybody. And this has mostly to be done by the Brahmins themselves because it is the duty of every aristocracy to dig its own grave. And the sooner it does so, the better for all. No time should be lost. Indian caste is better than the caste which prevails in Europe or America. I do not say it is absolutely good. Where would you be if there would be no caste? Where would be your learning and other things if there were no caste? There would be nothing left for the Europeans to study if caste had never existed. The Mohammedans would have smashed everything to pieces. Where do you find the Indian society standing still? It is always on the move. Sometimes, as it is at times of foreign invasions, the movement has been slow, at the other times quicker. This is what I say to my countrymen. I do not condemn them. I look into their past. I find that under the circumstances, no nation could do more glorious work. I tell them that they have done well. I only ask them to do better. Next question. What are your views, Swamiji, in regard to the relation to the caste to rituals? In regard to the relation of caste to rituals. The caste is continually changing. Rituals are continually changing. So are forms. It is a substance, the principle that does not change. It is the Vedas that we have to study our religion. With the exception of the Vedas, every book can change, or every book must change. The authority of Veda is for all times of or for all time to come. The authority of every one of our other books is for the time being. For instance, one Smriti is powerful for one age, another for another age. Great prophets are always coming and pointing the way to work. Some prophet worked for the lower classes. Others, like Madhava, gave the woman the right of to study the Vedas. Caste should not go, but should only be readjusted associationally. Within the old structure is to be found life, enough for the building of 200,000 new ones. It is sheer nonsense to desire the abolition of caste. The new method is evolution of the old. Next, do not Hindus stand in need of social reform? We do stand in the need of social reform. At times, great men would evolve new ideas of progress, and the kings would give them the section of law. The social improvement has had been in the past made in India, and in modern times, to effect such progressive reform, we will we will have first to build up such an authoritative power. Kings or having kings having gone, the power is the people. We have therefore to wait till the people are educated, till they understand their needs and are ready and able to solve their problems. The trinary of the minority is the worst trinary in the world. Therefore, instead of frittering away our energies on ideal reform, which will never become practical, we had better go to the root of the evil and make the legislative body, and that is to say educate our people so that they may be able to solve their own problems. Until that it's done, all this ideal reform will remain ideal only. The new orders of things is the salvation of the people by the people, and it takes time to make it workable, especially in India, which has always in the past been governed by kings. Next question. Do you think Hindu society can successfully adopt European social laws? No, not wholly. I would say the combination of the Greek mind represented by the external European energy added to the Hindu spirituality would be an ideal society for India. I would say the combination of the Greek mind represented by the external European energy added to the Hindu spirituality would be the ideal society for India. For instance, it is absolutely necessary for you, instead of frittering away your energy and often taking the ideal nonsense, to learn from the Englishman the idea to prompt obedience to leaders, the absence of jealousy, the indominating, indomitable perseverance, and the undying faith in himself. As soon as he selects a leader for a work, the Englishman sticks to him through thick and tiny and obey him. Here in India, everybody wants to become a leader, and there is nobody to obey. Everyone should learn to obey before he can command. There is no end to our jealousies, and the more important the Hindu, the more jealousy he is. Until this absence of jealousy and obedience of leaders are learned by the Hindu, there will be no power or organization. We shall have to remain the hopeless, confused mob that we are now, hoping and doing nothing. India has to learn from Europe the conquest of external nature, and the Europe has to learn from India the conquest of internal nature. Then there will be neither Hindus nor Europeans. There will be an ideal humanity which has conquered both the natures, the external and the internal. We have developed one phase of humanity and they another. It is union of the two that is wanted. The word freedom, which is the watchword of our religion, really means freedom physically, mentally, and spiritually. Next, what relation Swamiji does ritual bear to in religion? What relation Swamiji does ritual bear to religion? Ritual are kindergarten of religion. They are absolutely necessary for the world as it is now. Only we shall have to give people newer and fresher rituals. A party of thinkers must undertake to do this. Old rituals must be rejected and new ones substituted. Next, then you advocate the abolition of rituals, don't you? No, my watchword is construction, not destruction. Out of the existing rituals, new one will have to be evolved. There is infinite power of developing in everything. That is my belief. One atom has a power of the whole universe at its back. All along in the history of the Hindu race, there never was an attempt at destruction, only construction. One sect wanted to destroy, and they were thrown out of India. They were the Buddhists. We have had a host of reformers Shankara, Ramanuj, Madhava, Chaitanya. These were great reformers who always were constructive and building according to the circumstances of their times. This is our peculiar method of work. All the modern reformers take to European destructive reformation, which will never do good to anyone and never did. Only once was a modern reformer, mostly constructive, and that one was Raja Ram Mohan Rai. Only once was a modern reformer, mostly constructive, and that one was Raja Ram Mohan Rai. The progress of Hindu race has been towards the realization of Vedantic ideals. All history of Indian life is a struggle for the realization of the ideals of the Vedant through good or bad fortune. Whenever there was an reforming sect or religion which rejected the Vedantic idea, it was smashed into nothing. Next, what is your program of work here? I want to start two institutions, one in Madras and one in Calcutta, to carry out my plan. And that plan, briefly, is to bring the Vedantic ideals into everyday practice. Life of the saint or the sinner, of the sage or the ignoramus, of the Brahmin or the Parha. Our representative here put to him a few questions relative to Indian politics. But before the Swami could attempt anything like an answer, the train steamed up to the Egmore platform, and the only hurried remark that fell from the Swami was that he was dead against all political entanglement of Indian and European problems. The interview then terminated.